Salmon? I thought I put a restraining order on you. Why are you calling me?
Hello, Jack of Jack's Gaming Zone. How have you been? It's been a while. I was thinking about doing a collab with you for quite some time. Perhaps Metal Gear Solid?
Metal Gear?
Yes, Jack. Metal Gear.
No. I'm never associating with you again. Not after that incident.
Come on, Jack. We go a long way back.
You know you want to collab.
Well, I guess we both need money. I already owe Trey enough money as it is.
Then it's settled. My first collab. I can't wait.
What's wrong? Snake! Snake!
I am back once again. You thought you could get rid of me, didn't you? Guess again. I have come with a spicy hot new video for your eyeballs to consume on this very day. Me being the expert tactician I know I am, I strategically roped in an unsuspecting fool to aid me in my Metal Gear Solid review today. You all love him. I completely despise him. Everyone give a hand for Jack's Gaming World.
Hello there guys, I'm some random guy from a YouTube channel you've probably never heard of. But enough about that, let's cut straight through the pointless filler and get to it. And how could we start an MGS review without mentioning the man behind the curtain, Hideo Kojima, the director of the Metal Gear franchise.
Before Daddy Kojima's claim to fame with the Metal Gear series, he got to start with some Penguin game for the MSX that nobody cares about. He's made a few other notable titles such as Snatcher, Police Nuts, and Zone of the Enders, which all have a decent cult following.
Mr. Kojima would eventually strike gold with a title called Metal Gear, released on the MSX home computer in Japan of '87. It later got a sequel titled Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which was also for the MSX. However, it wasn't until the PlayStation with Metal Gear Solid where the series became a smash hit worldwide.
Now, since this is quite the meaty game in terms of story, we'll try to trim the fat as best we can. I should also mention that if you have not played Metal Gear 1 and 2 on the MSX, which I'm sure is a lot of people, then you can go into the briefing menu and get yourself caught up. One of Metal Gear Solid's main draws is its movie-like plot and involved story. So if you care about spoilers, skip ahead. Like seriously, this game is heavily plot-driven.
Legendary mercenary Solid Snake has been once again pulled out of retirement by Commanding Officer Roy Campbell to infiltrate Shadow Moses Island and take down the new and improved Foxhound. He also needs to locate the DARPA chief and the Arms Tech president, as well as gather intel on the supposed existence of a new Metal Gear.
This won't be a walk in the park either, as Snake will have to do battle with some of the rogue members of Foxhound. Vulcan Raven, a man with a giant Gatling gun the size of Jack's ego, Sniper Wolf with bullets about as effective as your average pistol, Psycho Mantis who can read your mind, not to mention your memory card, and Decoy Octopus, a man with disguises so good it could give you a heart attack.
Salmon, that was a good one.
Shut up, Jack. You know I'm only in this for your subs.
Oh.
Then we have Revolver Ocelot, who's a character I can really sympathize with. I too love being a sadist and spinning a gun around like a total madman. Pay attention to this guy, he remains a central character for the rest of the MGS series.
Last but not least, we have Liquid Snake, Solid Snake's counterpart, and he has some of the most corniest, most British lines in the entire game, which automatically makes them the best lines.
Snake, however, is not alone on his mission, as he's got a team of people to help him out. Colonel Campbell, Snake's commander, who gives helpful advice every now and then, along with Naomi Hunter, who is totally on our side and isn't shady in the slightest.
There's also Mei Ling, the best waifu in the game. Master Miller returns from Metal Gear 2 sporting badass shades and a voice performance on par with that of Liquid Snake.
Finally, we have Nastasha Romanenko, a weapons expert that will give you the rundown as to the various uses of your expansive arsenal. What a babe! Of course I didn't need help from her because I'm already a weapons expert myself. You can call them at any point through codec, but at no point are you ever required to do so. This provides new players with the help they need while also not being intrusive to returning players.
I'd never call them, that's what GameFAQs is for. Crawling his way through a couple of rat-infested air ducts, Snake soon finds Donald Anderson. He informs Snake of a new type of Metal Gear, codenamed Rex.
To make the situation worse, Snake also learns that the members of Foxhound do indeed have the means to launch a nuclear strike. It appears this plot has proved too much for even the characters of the story to handle, as Mr. Anderson requests that Snake shoot him dead until collapsing from a heart attack. As we said back in my day, got him.
Right after, Snake is held at gunpoint by a woman in disguise who you'll later come to know as Meryl, Campbell's niece. We don't have time to dwell on that though, as we have a rather clunky shooting section. Snake catches his first glimpse of Psycho Mantis, as well as something else, if you know what I mean.
Our next stop is to rescue President Baker, who, as luck would have it, is surrounded by a bunch of explosives. Revolver Ocelot steps out of the shadows, forcing him and Snake to commence in the most manly game of tag ever witnessed by human eyes.
In the end though, Ocelot ends up getting his ass handed to him.
You make me sick!
Ocelot's hand gets sliced off by an individual who clearly takes his anime way too seriously and decides to retreat for the time being. You know, I've always wondered something. What the hell was the point of, avoiding the explosions if the ninja was going to blow them up anyway?
With Baker surprisingly not dead, he tells Snake about his involvement with the Metal Gear project and why it's of interest to him. There's a lot of fluff here, but the short answer is money.
Baker directs Snake to Dr. Hal Emmerich, creator of Metal Gear X and the facility's head scientist. In addition, he gives Snake a data disk containing Metal Gear data. He also knows Meryl's codec number, but before he can tell you it, heart attack. Any input on this, Campbell?
I have no idea.
Good to know.
You contact Meryl by looking at the back of the game case. One of the screenshots actually shows Meryl's codec number. That slithery, sneaky, glasses-wearing genius. This is one of the many fourth wall breaks in the Metal Gear series that really shows the game's charm.
That is indeed something I love about Metal Gear. It takes its subject matter seriously in the sense that nukes are bad, okay? But at the same time, it's not afraid to have a little bit of fun with itself. I know a lot of people found fault with MGS4 in terms of its continuity and retcons and just overall self-indulgence, but I don't really care because the overall story is just fun to be a part of. In other words, it doesn't sacrifice enjoyment for the sake of artistic integrity.
Wow, Jack, that was very thought-provoking and analytical of you to say.
You really think so?
No. Snake and Meryl plan to meet up near the communications tower. Before that, Snake comes across Vulcan Raven piloting a massive tank, a destructive force that is a mere insect when stacked up against a middle-aged man and his endless supply of grenades.
Snake gets contacted by somebody called Deep Throat, who tells Snake how to make it to Emmerich's room without, getting lungs full of poison.
Before Snake can ask Emmerich what he knows, he's greeted by the cyborg ninja. After beating him in a boss fight that's more disjointed than one of Jack's jokes, you find out Campbell appears to know a thing or two about the ninja's identity. He theorizes that it could be Snake's old war buddy Grey Fox. He and Snake fought in Metal Gear 2 with Grey Fox biting the bullet. Snake wastes no time in asking Emmerich what he knows about Rex and its abilities to fire off a nuclear weapon. In reality, he wasn't intending to use it as a weapon at all. He was just inspired by the robots in those Korean cartoons he saw and thought it looked cool, so he wanted to make one himself. This exchange between Snake and Otacon highlights two things. The first is that although inventions like these can do some horrific things, the people behind them aren't always bad people and do it for the sake of scientific research. Maybe they're just like you, a fan of those Chinese finger paintings.
The second thing that it establishes is the influence of the media we consume. Think about it for a second. I bet you've heard quite a few stories in the past of, somebody joining the army after enjoying a game of Call of Duty. Keep in mind, I am not at all saying that these types of video games lead to violent behaviour. I am merely suggesting that they may have inspired them to enroll, the same way that these games also inspire me to make videos about them. In an odd twist of irony, I've even heard people say they enrolled because of Metal Gear Solid, which is, yeah. After that, Snake and Mel meet up to have a thought-provoking talk about war. In a restroom of all places. Meryl wonders whether she belongs on a battlefield and asking Snake why he does that sort of thing. She also holds one of the 3 keycards we need to stop the nuclear launch. Not too long after, Meryl starts acting very strangely, though Snake is too dead inside to take note of her advances.
My boy Snake sure missed an opportunity. But just then, it turns out Psycho Mantis has taken control of Meryl's mind and your controller. That's just one more thing I don't have control over in my life. This is another thing we love about Metal Gear Solid. The constant fourth wall breaks and subtle jokes the game throws at you every now and then. It makes the game feel unpredictable and really gives it the soul that the MGS series is known for. When Psycho Mantis is talking to me, it really breaks apart the little perception I still have in knowing what's real or not.
You even defeat the boss by putting the controller into the second port. Sure, it's something that most people know by now, but it's still really cool. He reveals his backstory and you move on.
Snake and Meryl soon meet Sniper Wolf, another member of Foxhound. Oh, and she's probably immune to bullets, just thought you should know. She reads Meryl like a book and cross-maps her with relative ease. But to fight back Sniper Wolf and save Meryl, Snake has to backtrack a really long time to get a sniper rifle.
This part is kinda needless and is just there to extend game time. Snake returns to the fight only to see that Meryl is gone. You trade bullets for a while and you assume that Sniper Wolf is dead. As she should be, considering you shot her with a sniper rifle. I mean, it would be pretty stupid to have her oh.
Haha, nope! Much like all the other villains in this game, Sniper Girl is practically immortal and captures you with the help of some guards. This is where you meet one-on-one with a British mastermind.
What are you looking at me like that for?
Liquid Snake, the man, the myth, the brother.
He rants on to you for a very long time and proceeds to leave you and Ocelot alone, and thus the most painful, most hand-destroying part of the game commences. This section is the worst. Salmon, would you mind explaining for our wonderful viewers at home?
I've been training for this, and the day has finally come. Hands down, as you heard from Jack, it's one of the most infuriating and stressful moments in the entire game. Ocelot is traveling an electric current through your body, and you have to mash circle to restore health as it is depleting very fast. Sounds easy, right?
No!
And I don't know about you, Jack, but if I let this pile of polygons die, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So I tried. And tried. I tried until my hands were nothing but a jumbled mess of cramps and depression, but I did do it. You are saved, my sweet...
The worst part is that if you die here, you have to go back to your previous save. You can submit by pressing select, but if you want the good ending, you have to keep going until you get it right. Not only do you have to do this once, but upwards to 3 times if you're not creative enough in your escape. And if you give up, it's heavily implied that Meryl dies.
But oh no! Who's that in your cell?
It turns out that the DARPA chief you talked to wasn't the real one. This was Decoy Octopus. You know, that person we mentioned earlier on that clearly exists. The real one has been dead and rotting away in this cell for quite a long time now. Now, there are a few different ways you can escape the cell. You can either wait until Grey Fox bails you out, you can use the bottle of ketchup that Oscorn gives you, or you can just simply sneak under the bed.
You grab all your stuff that was conveniently in this box, then you gotta finna go all the way back to where you got caught, but not before your pal, Deep Throat, lets you know that Ocelot placed a bomb in your items. What a trickster. But once you take out the obvious bomb in your inventory, you can finally look for the babe. But oh boy, here we go. Get ready for the longest and most frustrating staircase of all time.
In this part, you come across a tower with a staircase. Not only does this drag on for a very long time, but enemies attack you. Oh, fun! As we'll go over later, combat is very clunky in this game. In this section in particular, you are forced into a never-ending stream of blokes that constantly block your way up.
What's a bloke?
Is that British? I'm just gonna say it's British because I'm British.
Along the way, Snake runs into Otacon, who just so happens to have just used the elevator. He asks Snake if he thinks love can bloom on a battlefield.
Kiss him, you fool. There may never be another chance.
Of course, this is just to set up Otacon getting his emotional beating when his waifu for laifu gets shot and dies. Funny enough, by the men he calls his best friend.
Hey man, I'm just a little bit worried that people will think that we're not taking this serious analytical video seriously enough. I mean, we should really stop with this weeb terminology. I mean, did I mention how serious this serious video is supposed to be?
Jack?
Yes, Salmon?
You're an idiot.
This moment is also an attempt to humanise Snake and acts as a contrast to the conversation about war we had with Meryl. I would argue that this scene is more effective if you let Meryl die, as it just seems a little bit more genuine to me. I don't see Snake as the type of character to bring this stuff up unless he was really backed into an emotional corner.
So you rappel down a building, grab a Stinger missile, and with the help of Otacon's pep talk, Snake manages to somehow defeat a Hind D.
Power of friendship! Yay!
Finally, Snake is once again met face to face with Sniper Wolf, who after challenging Snake to another 1v1 deathmatch, she dies with the sad howling of wolves. You can actually use a sniper, or you can just fire remote-controlled missiles to where she can't hit you like a jerk. It also goes the same way to humanize Snake himself. While it's debatable that he actually enjoys killing people in the battlefield, he at least has enough respect for his opponents to let them die with dignity when they request it.
I have to be honest, the members of Foxhound, specifically Wolf and Psycho Mantis, are characters that I was actually sad to see go. They are bad, yes, but they still have humanity to them. This is evidenced through the way Mantis helps you progress and Wolf's kindness towards Otacon. While on the way to confront Vulcan Raven, Snake gets contacted by Master Miller. He tells Snake that there's something suspicious going on with this Naomi character, and that, well, to get straight to the point, there is.
As Naomi informed us at the start of the game, he was injected with nanomachines so that he wouldn't have to worry about death by hyperthermia or hunger. What we didn't know at the time was that inside the nanomachines lies Foxdie.
Foxdie is a virus pre-programmed to attach itself and kill specific people by simulating a heart attack. This was arranged by the Pentagon and is currently being used to target the remaining Foxhound members. The problem is that due to Naomi's vendetta against Snake after what he did to Big Boss, it was made to target him as well.
Regardless, Snake soldiers on because, like your average YouTube vlogger, what better things does he have to do with his life?
Snake finds his way into the Metal Gear hangar and eavesdrops on the conversation between Ocelot and Liquid. They also name drop one Colonel Galukovich, who we will see in the next game, no doubt.
Of course, given that Snake absolutely sucks at being stealthy, Ocelot shoots the keycard out of his hands into a nearby ditch. After a tedious game of back and forth, Snake manages to use different room temperatures to get the keys he needs to deactivate Rex.
Only problem is that it was never activated in the first place, causing Snake to activate it. Wow. At this point, Snake gets a call from none other than Master Miller, who is, as you might have guessed, Liquid Snake with sunglasses. Genius. You know, I would comment on the clever use of voice acting, but I'm not gonna bother because practically everyone's talked about it at this point.
That's because I will. Back when voice acting for video games had a smaller budget, they would tend to reuse voice actors to save cash, and when Master Miller and Liquid had a very similar voice, you would think that it was only a limitation of its time. But nope, it was all part of the twist.
Did you like my sunglasses?
Yes.
So Liquid complains about his genes for a little bit and then decides to kill you from the safety of his mechanical dinosaur.
Otacon is such a loser that he created Rex to have a weak spot, so you attack there for a while, but then Grey Fox comes in to save the day, or just to get squashed like the cybernetic cockroach he is. I mean, whatever comes first.
It turns out that Grey Fox was actually the one that killed Naomi's parents. So after you pump Liquid full of Stinger missiles, there's a huge explosion and you black out.
Surely Liquid, the British mastermind himself, is dead now, right, Jack? Right?
About that, Salmon. You see...
He's still alive, isn't he?
Yeah, you could say that. When you wake up, you're greeted by the luxurious golden locks of Liquid Snake, who then decides to dump about half a day's worth of exposition on you. Terrible. Whatever that, it's called that. It turns out that Solid and Liquid were actually created from a Big Boss cloning project.
Die!
Hi, Salmon, you're back. Where did you...
See you in hell, vile creature! Okay, now he's dead. Oh hey Jack, I'm back.
Yeah, I noticed.
Anyways, after you battle Liquid to the death, shirtless, you find out an airstrike is coming your way, so you gotta escape Shadow Moses with Meryl.
Or Otacon if you're bad at video games.
Not yet, Snake!
No!
It's not over yet!
No!
Well, great, the fish is gone again. So as you can see, Liquid is still alive and chasing you down. You have a bit of a chase sequence, and then Liquid, like a genius, decides to park his car right in front of you.
Oh, what's up, Jack? Sorry about that.
Snake and your companion make it out alive, and Liquid finally dies through heart attack. It turns out that we're all just being pranked. There wasn't going to be any airstrikes after all. Ah, what jokers. No, it's cool, I get it, ad revenue's down.
Snake says his goodbyes to Colonel and Naomi. She says that Snake should live the rest of his life to the fullest, regardless of the limited time he has left. Meryl and Snake ride off into the distance to live their life.
Or Otacon, don't forget Best Girl.
A very touching ending to the game as a whole. It gives me a lot of hope for my sad, hopeless life.
This ending is definitely amplified by this amazing credits theme, the best has yet to come. After the credits roll, we're left on a bit of a plot twist that Ocelot was actually working for the President as a spy. All in all, this game's story is truly amazing for its time. While some of the cutscenes can be a bit long, bordering on silly in some cases, at least it's fun to watch, unlike, say, the first Assassin's Creed game.
I'd say the game's story is one of its biggest strong suits. It glues you to the screen because you really want to know what happens next. It makes you want to keep playing on. The story is aided by its absolutely superb voice acting. The game came out in an age where good video game voice acting was hard to find, but these actors knock it out of the park.
Nearly all the actors do a great job. Cam Clark as Liquid, Paul Eading as Colonel Campbell, Christopher Randolph as Otacon, and of course David Hayter as Snake are all amazing. It's just a shame that Konami nor Kojima saw this and decided to replace David Hayter for the 5th game, because why?
Overall, as a newcomer, I had a great time with the story. It was well written, directed, and voice acted. A clap and a half, old Kojima, you rascal. Jack, is that for you?
Yeah, hold on a sec, hello?
Hello, Jack of Jack's Gaming World.
Okay, Trey, for the last time, it's Jack's Gaming Zone, and besides, what the heck are you doing?
Brother, how have you been? It sure has been a while.
Fine? Didn't we just do a collab a little while ago?
These are separate universes. Anyways, I just wanted to alert you that our battle to the death will happen soon, brother.
Okay, but why?
You know very well why, Jack. It's destiny. We will meet soon enough in the field of battle.
What?
Tyler sends his regards.
Who is that?
I don't know, I've never met that person in my life. Let's carry on.
Okay.
On to the gameplay now. Yes, Metal Gear is a video game. Who knew? Metal Gear Solid's controls can seem fairly complex at first glance, but give it some time and it will eventually grow on you.
You obviously control Snake with the analog stick.
But I don't have a DualShock.
Well, not everyone is you, Jack. Pressing the X button will allow Snake to crouch. Giving a directional command will then have Snake crawl across the ground, useful for taking shortcuts or entering air ducts. Finally, Snake can use the L2 and R2 buttons to select the various weapons you'll pick up on your mission.
This neat gizmo on the top right hand corner of the screen is your Soliton Radar. This white dot in the middle is Snake. The yellow dots are your enemies. The cone represents your field of vision.
What? Are you just reading directly off the game script?
No.
When your enemy spots you, they'll go into an alert state and your navigation will be jammed. When this happens, it's up to you to find any means of escape, whether that being hiding under something or just straight slaughtering everybody. But this isn't what I'd call intelligent AI by any stretch. They do, however, react to small things like your bullets being fired, your footsteps on metal surfaces, and at one time your footprints in the snow.
When you say it like that, it really does make them seem more intelligent than a lot of other games on the market at the time. The problem is that for a stealth game, there really isn't much to stealth past, at least as far as enemies go. There are only like 1 or 2 soldiers per room, if that, and I'm pretty sure the total headcount is less than 30 throughout the entire duration of the game. The game does do a good job of intersplicing action set pieces in between, so even if there isn't much to stealth, you won't really notice that much.
Once you extend your health bar and get better weapons, it's possible just to stand in the corner and shoot all the enemies, which kinda defeats the purpose of a stealth game.
Snake can get his hands on a lot of weapons in this game, like a remote-controlled missile, which can be used in a lot of creative ways.
Speaking of boss battles, well, there's a thing that happens, I guess. I know a lot of people adore this aspect of the game, but we don't really know what the big fuss is about. They're either incredibly uneventful and easy, such as the case with this tank, or they could be incredibly clunky, like the point with Grey Fox, where you have to throw your weapons to beat him with a flurry of punches and kicks. Incidentally, you also do the same thing with Liquid at the end of the game, and it's just as bad there.
On top of that, most of the bosses apply a smoke and mirrors tactic to give the illusion that they're more complex and difficult than they actually are. I'm thinking of the fan favourite Psycho Mantis in particular. Once you know this trick, any and all nuance this boss might have had is completely gone. In addition, Metal Gear Solid isn't a cult classic, it's a hugely popular PlayStation 1 action game. Even if it's not your first playthrough, chances are you already know of this little exploit by now.
We aren't going to pretend like there are any good bosses to speak of, though. Vulcan Raven, for example, combines the stealth and action together. Avoiding his line of sight and knowing where he'll go is the key to beating him. The bosses that don't work like the ones we mentioned generally put too much focus on combat, when you can clearly tell that MGS is not built with that in mind.
Graphically speaking, Metal Gear Solid is certainly a good looking game for the PlayStation, though it is definitely dated in a few areas. Some more than others. While the interior of the base may be dark and brooding a lot of the time, it's surprisingly varied in terms of aesthetics. Whether that be a furnace, a freezer, or a fancy restroom, there's never really a dull moment here. Some areas are even primarily designed around stealth, such as the room with the nuclear weapons, where your guns are disabled and you're forced to tread carefully.
On top of that, sometimes an area will have different ways to approach them, meaning that it's up to you how you want to go about this mission. The biggest example is at the beginning of the game, where you're told about 2 points of entry, ultimately leaving it up to you to decide which one you take. Granted, not every area is like this, but the keycards restrict you from just going anywhere you please. But it's always best to keep an eye out. From a musical standpoint, MGS is certainly no slouch in that department. The two obvious standouts here are the final theme of the game, The Best Is Yet to Come, and the MGS main theme, which practically defines stealth, despite the fact that it's potentially plagiarized, but let's ignore that.
This is one of those soundtracks where I think it's better listened to while actually playing the game itself. They're good tracks, don't get me wrong, but they certainly aren't something you go out your way to listen to. At least, not for me.
The kicker is that unless you're playing the game on a harder difficulty, not including cutscenes, Metal Gear Solid will only take you a maximum of 5 hours to beat. Even less when you know where to go. That's not a bad thing if the game is fun, which it is, but a lot of the enjoyment from Metal Gear comes from the story. It is possible to skip it, but you'd be missing out on 50% of the package. And with that, guys, ends the MGS review collab thing. I hope you enjoyed it and...
Not yet, Salmon!
It's not over yet!
Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, a GameCube remake developed by Silicon Knights, the same people behind Eternal Darkness.
But I haven't played that game.
Well then I guess you're gonna have to shut up and listen then, won't you, Salmon? Graphically speaking, the game has seen some drastic changes, most notably, the characters' faces don't look like they're made out of melted cheese. Think of Twin Snakes in a similar fashion to the Pokemon remakes, sporting the changes and additions made up until that point in the series. In this case, Twin Snakes has the same mechanics as MGS2, and man does that feel good. Hanging off ledges, first person aiming, tranquilizer guns, peeking around corners, oh yes! Enemy soldiers have gotten quite a bit more intelligent since last time. They will call for backup if they see an unconscious body or one of their teammates isn't responding. And if they do, you better get the hell out of Dodge, because they will hunt you down like a pack of dogs. Psycho Mantis' mind reading has now been changed to include more Nintendo games as opposed to Konami games from before. The voice acting has also been completely redone, and while I do think the lines are more competently read here, I'm not gonna lie, I do miss the silliness of the original, especially in Liquid's case. A huge point of contention for a lot of people is the over-the-top nature of the cutscenes, but I just don't see it. Make no mistake, they are over the top to be sure, but MGS has never really been grounded in reality to begin with, so I never really did take them all that seriously. If you want to play MGS1, this is the version I would recommend to people above all. Or at least that's what I would be saying if it weren't so damn expensive. I don't regret my purchase, but even still it didn't come cheap. It's never been re-released either, so your only option is a physical copy, I'm afraid. This concludes our Metal Gear Solid review. Hopefully we did a good job of explaining everything. This game is packed to the brim with plot and a little bit of gameplay on the side.
Metal Gear Solid is a classic that everyone should play at least once. Its riveting story and gameplay makes it a hard game to forget. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.
That was a pretty fun collab, wasn't it, Salmon?
No.